All right, so you want to become a local tour guide, huh? We're going to dive deep into this whole tour guide thing today. And we're basing this deep dive off of this really cool guide about becoming a tour guide. But before we get into all that, do you know tourism is like one of the biggest industries out there, like worldwide, huge. I mean, clearly there's a ton of pages out there, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're thinking about,
Yeah.
getting yourself a slice of that action. Maybe even becoming a tour guide yourself. I mean, what do you think? Have you ever thought about that?
Well, what's really interesting is this whole thing, it's not just about sightseeing anymore, you know? This guide we're looking at, it highlights this huge trend with tourists. They're looking for something different. They're really craving those personalized, authentic experiences, you
Yeah.
know? Like they want to connect with places on like a deeper level. And who better to guide them than someone who really knows and loves their city? I mean, that's where I think your opportunity is.
Yeah. So, okay, let's break it down here.
Mhm.
What kinds of tours are we even talking about? I mean, this guide mentions like the classics, the sightseeing tours, perfect for those first timers,
Mhm.
the ones who want to hit all the big landmarks.
Right, but it goes way beyond that. I mean, there's this whole world of like niche tours out there, you know.
Yeah.
You got your hidden gem tours for the more adventurous traveler, your food and drink tours for the foodies out there. You can even tailor tours around like specific themes like art or history, or even ghost tours if you're into that kind of spooky
Whoa,
stuff.
whoa, 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 back up a sec. Ghost tours. That's actually a pretty cool idea,
Mm.
though, personally. I'm more of a food tour kind of guy, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But I guess that's the whole point, right? There's something for everyone. You can really tap into like your own passions and your own expertise.
Exactly. And don't forget about adventure tours. Those are getting super popular. I mean, you can do
Oh,
hiking, biking, kayaking, all woven into like a unique exploration of your city's natural surroundings.
So many options. Okay, but let's get down to like the nitty gritty here. What skills do you actually need to be like a successful tour guide? Is it more than just knowing your city like the back of your hand? I mean, I know my city pretty well.
Well, knowing your city is key, definitely.
Yeah.
But it's only part of the equation. This guide really emphasizes communication as like the number one skill. You need to be a storyteller, you know, someone who can bring history and culture to life for your audience. Think of it like painting a picture with your words, you know, creating an immersive experience for your guests.
I get what you mean. So it's not just about like rattling off facts. It's about making people feel like they're part of the story.
Exactly. And on that note, customer service skills are super important too. You're going to be working with all sorts of different people, so you got to be patient, adaptable, and, you got to have a genuine love for sharing your city with people.
So it's like being the host of the best party ever, right?
Hmm.
Making sure everyone's having a good time.
Exactly. And if you happen to speak multiple languages, that's a huge plus. Opens doors to a wider audience, lets you create richer, more nuanced experiences. And of course, you can't forget about navigation. You got to be able to get your group from point A to point B, especially if you're doing walking tours.
Hold on. Is there like some official tour guide certification? Do you need that to lead tours? Or can anyone just kind of start doing this?
That's a great question, and it's something the guide actually talks about. It really depends on where you are and the type of tours you're doing. Some cities have like strict rules and you need specific certifications or licenses. Others are a bit more relaxed. The key is to do your research and make sure you're operating legally and all that.
Okay, makes sense. So let's say you figured out the whole legal side of things.
Hmm.
What about the practical stuff? Like what tools or resources does a tour guide actually need to get started, like to run their business?
Well, in this day and age, a professional online presence is a must-have. You need a website that showcases your tours, your pricing, and all your booking info.
Right, got to have that digital storefront. But what about those online platforms like Airbnb Experiences or Viator? Wouldn't listing your tours on those be smart too? They already have like a huge audience of travelers.
Absolutely. Those platforms can be super valuable for reaching a wider audience and managing your bookings. And don't forget about social media. Visual platforms like Instagram and TikTok are perfect for showing off how cool your tours are.
So we're talking like high quality photos, engaging videos, maybe even some behind the scenes stuff to get people excited.
Exactly. It's all about creating an online presence that grabs people's attention and makes them want to book a tour with you.
This is starting to sound like a lot to handle. Are there any tools or apps specifically for tour guides that can help with all this?
Oh, there are some really great options out there. The guide mentions Proxy, for example. It helps with route planning, guest management, even gathering feedback from your tours.
Okay, that sounds pretty helpful. And speaking of feedback, I bet online reviews are super important, right?
Hmm.
Especially when you're competing with like a million other tour guides.
Reviews are absolutely crucial. Positive reviews on platforms like TripAdvisor or Google can make or break you. And don't forget about responding to those reviews, both the good and the bad. It shows potential customers you're engaged and that you care about their experience.
So it's not just about getting those 5-star reviews. It's about managing your online reputation and showing that you actually care.
Exactly. Now, I know we're all eager to get to the part about making money.
Hold up. Are you reading my mind?
Mm.
Because that's totally where my head's at.
Well, get ready to be impressed. This guide breaks down the income potential, and it's looking pretty good. You've got a lot of flexibility when it comes to pricing. You can charge per person, offer flat rates for private groups. You can even create packages with add-ons like souvenirs or special experiences.
Okay, so let's say you're doing like a daily walking tour with a group of 10 people at $50 a head. That's already $500 a day. Do that a few times a week and you're making some serious bank.
Exactly, and the guide says that with consistent bookings and some smart marketing, you could potentially hit $10,000 a month or more. Of course, this will vary depending on your city, your tour type, and the whole seasonality thing.
That's a pretty impressive number, though. I imagine it takes a lot of hustle to hit those kind of numbers.
It definitely does. It's not some get-rich-quick scheme or anything.
Right.
But with passion, dedication, and a solid business plan, the potential is there. And speaking of business plans,
Let's talk marketing. How do you actually stand out in this sea of tour guides and get people to choose your tours? What strategies does this guide recommend?
that's a great question, and it's something we'll dive deeper into in the next part of our deep dive. But before we get there,
Okay, so spill the beans. What's the secret to attracting all those tourists and getting those bookings?
well, first things first, you got to remember potential customers. They're overwhelmed with choices. You know, you got to make your tours stand out. It's not enough to just like list them. You got to capture their imagination.
So how do you do that? What's the magic formula?
Visuals. High quality visuals are key. This guide really emphasizes that. Think like stunning photos and videos. Stuff that showcases not just the landmarks, but the whole vibe, you know, the energy, the unique personality of your tours.
Yeah, I get that. A picture's worth 1,000 words,
Yeah.
right? Especially when you're trying to convince someone to travel.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of storytelling, even in your marketing materials. Your tour descriptions, they shouldn't just be lists of facts. You got to weave a narrative, you know, give people a taste of the experience, make them feel like they're already on the adventure with you.
So like paint a picture with words, just like you would on the actual tour.
Mm.
I like that.
Mm.
But what about those online booking platforms? How do you stand out there? I mean, there are tons of tours on those sites.
Those platforms are basically marketplaces, right? You're competing with tons of other tour guides, so you got to use every tool you can. The guide recommends optimizing your listings for search, you know? Think about the keywords potential customers are using. Hidden gem tours, food tours, historical walks, whatever your niche is.
So SEO is important. Got to sprinkle in some of that magic.
Absolutely. And don't forget, reviews are like social proof. Encourage your happy customers to leave good reviews on those platforms. Potential customers are way more likely to trust other people's experiences than any marketing copy you could write.
True. True reviews are everything these days. But what about reaching people who aren't even looking for tours yet? How do you get on their radar?
That's where social media comes in. This guide suggests using platforms like Instagram and TikTok. Create engaging content that captures the spirit of your tours, you know? Think stunning photos, behind-the-scenes videos, maybe even live streams from your tours to give people a real taste of what you offer.
Live streams. That's a cool idea. It's like a window into your world.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be kind of hard to manage all that yourself? Especially if you're busy actually leading tours.
Yeah, it can be a lot to juggle. That's why this guide recommends collaborations. Think about partnering with local businesses, hotels, restaurants, even other tour operators who cater to a similar audience, you know?
I see what you mean. It's like building a network. Everyone benefits.
Exactly. You could offer package deals, cross-promote each other's services,
Yeah.
tap into new markets, and don't forget word-of-mouth marketing. Encourage your happy customers to spread the word. Maybe offer them referral discounts or something like that.
Word of mouth is gold, especially in tourism. People trust recommendations from their friends way more than anything else. But let's be real, there are always going to be challenges.
Of course. No business is a walk in the park. The guide highlights some key challenges you need to be ready for.
Okay, hit me with them. What are we talking about?
Competition. That's a big one. Especially in popular tourist destinations. You gotta find ways to stand out. Offer something unique that sets you apart from the crowd, you know?
So it goes back to finding your niche, showing off your personality and expertise, and creating those memorable experiences.
Exactly. It's not just about showing people the sights. It's about adding value, providing insights and perspectives they wouldn't get anywhere else.
So don't be afraid to get creative and think outside the box.
Absolutely. Now, another challenge is seasonality tourism kind of goes up and down depending on the time of year. You got to be prepared for those fluctuations in demand.
So what do you do during the off-season when things are slower? How do you keep the business going?
You got to be adaptable. The guides suggest developing strategies for the slower months. Maybe offer virtual tours, create special themed experiences that appeal to a different audience, or even partner with local businesses. Offer package deals to attract visitors year-round.
Those are some smart ideas. So it's about staying proactive and finding creative ways to keep the revenue coming in.
Right, and then there are logistical challenges, especially if you're dealing with bigger groups or unpredictable stuff like weather or traffic.
Yeah, that sounds tricky. How do you keep things running smoothly?
Planning. Planning is key. The guide really emphasizes that. You got to scout your routes carefully, have backup plans in place, and communicate clearly with your guests so everyone knows what to expect.
So being a tour guide is more than just showing up and talking about your city. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. But what about dealing with the customers themselves? That's got to be challenging sometimes, right?
Of course, you're going to be interacting with all sorts of people with different personalities, expectations, maybe even some demanding requests, you know?
I can only imagine. So how do you handle those tricky situations? Does the guide have any advice on dealing with difficult customers?
So, we were talking about dealing with those, challenging tourists.
Right, right. Well, it really comes down to communication, I think. Setting clear expectations from the get-go, being upfront about what the tour includes, the timings, any like physical demands, you know, even talking about potential issues like weather or stuff like that can prevent a lot of headaches later on.
Yeah, that makes sense. No one wants to be caught off guard, especially when they're on vacation.
Exactly. But even with like the best planning, you're bound to run into some snags, you
Oh,
know.
for sure. For sure. That's why it's so important to stay calm, be adaptable, find those creative solutions on the fly. Sometimes a little humor can go a long way too in diffusing a tense situation.
So you got to be like a diplomat, a negotiator, a comedian, and a history buff all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But really, though, it sounds like being a tour guide takes a lot of different skills.
It definitely does. But beyond all the practical skills, I think there's something more to it. The guide talks about this idea of tour guides being like ambassadors, not just for their cities, but for meaningful travel as a whole.
That's an interesting way to think about it. So it's not just about showing people the sights, it's about helping them connect with the place and the people on a deeper level.
Exactly. Tour guides have this power to shape perceptions. They can highlight not just the popular attractions, but also the hidden gems, the local businesses, the stories that make a place special.
And that can have a real impact, right? Not just on the tourists, but on the local community, too.
Absolutely. It's about promoting sustainable tourism, supporting local businesses, creating those authentic experiences that benefit everyone involved.
It's like this ripple effect. A good tour experience leads to more tourism, more business, and even better understanding between cultures.
Precisely. And that brings us back to thinking about becoming a tour guide. It's not just about building a business. It's about becoming part of something bigger, something with real meaning.
Wow, when you put it like that, it really changes how you see the whole tour guide thing. It's not just a job, it's a chance to make a difference.
Exactly. And it all starts with passion. This guy really stresses that authenticity and enthusiasm. Tourists can spot a fake a mile away. They want someone who really loves their city and is excited to share that with others.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Your energy is contagious. It's what turns a boring sightseeing tour into a memorable experience.
So as you move forward with your plans, remember to tap into that passion. Let your love for your city be your guide.
Great advice. So if you could give one final piece of advice to our aspiring tour guide, what would it be?
Don't be afraid to experiment, to try new things, to find your own unique style. The best thing about being a tour guide is you have the freedom to create something truly special.
That's a great note to end on. So there you have it, folks. A deep dive into the world of tour guiding. We talked about everything from picking your niche to marketing your tours, dealing with challenges, and even the bigger impact this profession can have.
We hope this deep dive gave you some valuable insights and got you excited to start this journey.
Remember, the best tours are those that come from the heart. So get out there, explore your city, and create those unforgettable experiences that will keep people coming back for more. Until next time, happy exploring.